Yeah, I've got a Bose Solo on the bench. Probably about 8 or 9 have gone across through the repair process since I did the original video on the Bose Solo SoundBar. Seems that lots of people have got similar problems, and it's surprising how many of them that come in have been worked on before by someone else trying to fix them. But that's beside the point. What we do know about this one is that it's constantly trying to start up. You can just about hear this chink 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 noise as every 1.5 seconds as the management trip tries to start up and then can't start because there's an overcurrent condition. And it's very interesting because there's nothing much wrong with the power supply. It's working, and I can force it to work by changing the bias point on the feedback node and the current sense node on the management chip. And I've concluded that in this case it's usually the power supply, but on this one it's something to do with the microboard. I haven't got very far into it, but I'm looking into it now. And what there is a separate feedback path. You want to see a bit more about how all this works, then look at the other Bose Solo SoundBar video I did, because there's more explanation there of what's, we do a detailed repair on a power supply. But I'm pretty convinced there's nothing wrong with this one. The FETs are okay, the drive's working okay. I can force it to start up by changing the bias levels on the power supply. The current and the power all seem fine, except that it's not voluntarily starting up when you plug the thing in. Now, when you first plug in standby mode, this thing produces about 6 volts, which is enough to keep the micro alive and power for the infrared remote control receiver on the front. And so the micro dictates the power supply what mode it's working in. And I've come to the conclusion at the moment, before I go any further, and I'll be interested if anybody else has seen this before, is that via this opto here, the micro can influence the settings in the power supply. I won't bore you with the details, but it can put it into full power mode or standby mode. And the micro over here has got a line that comes in over here and it goes directly to a port pin on the processor. So when you start to first try and start up, it will push the voltage on here at about 6 volts, and these 3.3 and 1.7 and 0.7 volt power supplies will produce the power for the micro. The reset management chip and monitor, actually it's not a watchdog, it's an ordinary reset chip, drives and resets the chip, and then the chip should start up. And as soon as it starts up, I think before this has finished its normal startup cycle and it's ramping up, before that happens, the micro is then required to put some input into here to tell it to okay, power up. And you can see this behavior because if you power it up normally, it goes low and then comes up to full power, does the double beep, sits there for a minute or two, and then shuts down into the skip standby mode. So it shuts the power supply down, and these are only firing occasionally just to keep the voltage topped up. So nothing wrong with this side. Micro not starting up, not booting. So I'm going to look into that now. But if anyone's got any information, I've worked out the schematic for this side, long hard one schematic, but I haven't done this side yet. And both clocks are running fine, all the signals bit, and the micro more or less seems to be running as though it's going through the bootloader, but the code upgrade is not, it's not helping with the code upgrade. So there's something fundamental about either corrupted memory or whatever on this. Now I can't see any JTAG interface on there, but there must be a programming interface on this device besides a USB, unless this comes with a standard USB loader. In which case I should be able to force this into boot mode and use the USB loader to load the code. So this may be completely bricked at the moment without a further work, but if anyone's got any bright ideas, I'd be very interested to hear them.